Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Ewan, and I'm here to tell you about all of the additional resources that Paleobiology Database has to offer besides the main site itself. So when you go to the Paleobiology Database website, paleobiodb.org, one of the top level menu options is Resources. So if we click on that, you can see the first thing in italics is Contribute Resources. We're actually going to come back to that at the end, and I'll show you how if you create a resource using PBDB data, you can share it with the rest of the world using that contribute function. Resources are grouped into the sort of resource that they are. And so at the top we have web apps, mobile apps, lesson plans, tutorials. So these two tutorials are basically on what is the database and how to use the database, R packages and scripts, different presentations that have been given about the database, resources regarding the API, which I'll tell you about, and everything else we couldn't think of to put on this list. So let's start at the top. The web resources are basically web apps that different people have created that display PBDB data or analyze PBDB data in certain ways. First being our Navigator app. If you don't know what that is, you can go watch the introductory video. It shows fossil collections on maps. First app here shows first and last appearances. Lots of others, including one down here that shows PBDB diversity data against various paleoclimate indicators. The second class of apps are mobile apps. So these are ones that were specifically developed to work on your mobile device. Steve Holland created Mancos, which plots PBDB data on geologic maps. Flyover Country shows you pathways of travel across the US. It was designed to be like you're flying over what's underneath you, and it shows PBD data, geology data, other historical data together. And ROCT was developed by University of Wisconsin at Madison, and this is sort of a social media sort of geology plus fossil app where you can tell people what rocks or fossils you're finding wherever you are and compare that to what is in the PBDB and other databases. Probably one of the most useful suites of resources are the lesson plans and educational activities. So many people on their own have developed lesson plans that use PBDB data, and in fact we had a grant from the National Science Foundation iUse program to develop more and to develop this uploader so people can share them. And a lot of these are here, and you can see they cover all sorts of topics on diversity, paleobiogeography, on the GABI, the Great American Biotic Interchange, what fossils are where you are, reef building fossils, competition. So just lots and lots of different activities here, different grade levels, although most of them are for college level. They can, if they're not specifically for younger audiences, they can easily be adapted for that. So these include downloads for students, for the faculty, and all the instructions on how to use the database without logging in, by the way. You don't need to log in. You can be just any old user to use this system to do this. We also have a whole bunch of tutorials on how to use the database. So there are some introductory videos, there are some on how to do specific things like use diversity data, how to download data. We did a series of COVID-related webinars that showed up here that you can see, and they include Q&A, discussions of various topics, how to enter data. So again, very helpful here. More data entry tutorials here, split up. Here's one about how to enter all sorts of data. And then there's some there on specific types of data, taxonomy, references, what have you. And then we have a series of R packages and scripts, which are generally used for data analysis. So they tell you how to download data and then run it through these R packages to do various things. PBDB utilities is rather general. Um, the PaleoBioDB is another sort of general one, and others are more specific to do specific things with PBDB data. Here's again another series of presentations that were done for specific audiences, but again, they're sort of on very specific topics. And lastly, we have the API resources, which tell you about how the PBDB API works if you want to use it for your own scripts, for your own development of apps. And then two other APIs, the EarthLife Consortium API, which mashes together Neotoma and PBDB data, and another one, ePanda, which mashes up PBDB with iDigBio data. Both are very handy and similar, but mash up different kinds of data together for various uses and could be handy to build depending on what kind of project you're doing. And then everything else we couldn't figure out what to do with, which includes our Github repository where you can find all the code that generates the PBDB. So if you wanted to, you could clone the whole thing and use it for yourself and develop it on your own. So these are all the resources that we have. Again, this can be added to at any time by going to Contribute Resources, where we just ask you for some metadata about your resource, including an image that we can use as an icon for you, title, what it is, a link to it. So we don't actually host these. It has to be hosted somewhere else, and we just link to it. And then some information about you as the author and who you think this is for and what the topic is. Then you hit submit, and then a human will look at what you submitted, approve, and then it will automatically show up here on the resource page once it's been approved by the human. So that's about it for our resources, but that's kind of a lot. So we hope those are useful to you. We hope that if you're developing your own resources, you will contribute so that other people can take advantage of your hard work. Thanks much.